Or am I live? Okay. We are recording, so don't say anything bad.
All righty. Well, okay, so if you want to, forgive me, but what was your first name again?
Ilea.
Ilea, okay. If you don't mind the boring presentation, I can get us started.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start off with just a little history. Not much, but we are a public health performance management. The dashboard was actually born in Maricopa County Public Health Department. And we always like to say it's a pretty large jurisdiction in the wintertime where it's all beautiful. And in the summertime, it, services about 3 people. I think Fred and Ellen and myself are the only ones left. But we started with public health about 18 years ago. And it was developed, the VMSG dashboard was developed as their project planning and execution system. And then, of course, FAB came along in 2011, and they had a fully demonstrated performance management system. With that, we were able to really achieve one of the highest standards that FAB has, and that's being fully demonstrated, of course, because we can get every level of your department to be able to contribute to the success of your organization, as well as external partners. And how we did this is we have combined, it's a truly comprehensive operational planning and execution system, which combines the PDCA cycle right into the system. Plan, do, check, and adjust. There are a lot of performance monitoring tools out there, and what we've done is we do have performance monitoring because that's part of the cycle, but we also are a planning tool and a document management tool, and you'll see that later on in the presentation. So there are many, many definitions of performance management, and ours is it really breaks it down to 3 different areas, and that is, you're going to start off with a set of plans, and like FAB at times they ask for the 6-pack of plans, and so we can accommodate that, and you'll see that in just a moment. But we have a specific set of plans, and then it is actually executed by a specific set of people, and then for specific activities that they need to do. And that's how the PDCA cycle comes in, because you're planning, you're executing the plan, you're monitoring it, then you go right back in and make your adjustments in real time. And with no further ado, Fred, there you go.
No, my turn already.
It's all yours. And by the way, he's the left brain of the organization.
Okay.
So I'm going to let him go live into the system. All right, go ahead, Fred.
Okay, well, thanks for taking the time to join us today. As Andrea was saying, performance management is really 3 areas. So number 1 is good, solid plans. The old adage is, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you got there? So we really do really push the idea of developing good, solid plans so that you have the plans to follow. And if the plans need to be corrected, we can do that. And that's through the monitoring cycle here. Instead of waiting until the end of the planning cycle, the end of the year, the end of the quarter, whatever it is, let's keep an eye on these plans in real time. And that's what the monitoring tools do. They allow you to keep an eye on the plans. And what you're looking for are things to kind of start heading south. And when things start changing, not for the good, then you're going to be able to go in and make corrections again through this PDCA cycle. So what that allows you to do is keep an eye on them, make the corrections in real time, get them back on track, and move forward here. The operational planning methodology in the system is a public health standard methodology. It's used by, as far as we know, public health departments all across the nation. And the fact is that we've got 220 plus public health departments using it, and 99% of them probably use this exact same planning model. So we think it's pretty solid. At the top of this pyramid that you see is your organization or your health department. Underneath that is your org chart. So your divisions, your offices, your programs, and how they relate to one another in the department. Then for each of those, what we call groups, you have a set of services or initiatives. Services are the what you do part. Initiatives are the what you want to do part in the future. And the only real difference is that the initiatives typically have future dates. Then for each of those services or what you're going to do, you have a little mini project plan. Each service has a set of goals, each goal a set of objectives, each objective a set of activities. And I would imagine if you looked at the plans that you have out there right now, you probably see that they fit into a very similar format with maybe some nomenclature differences, like, some people use strategies. It's interesting because we were working this morning with a client and they use strategies instead of goals, whereas a lot of people use strategies instead of activities. So the nomenclature can be anything, but you got to look at the plan structure and it fits like this. So we developed a little organization called USA Public Health for the purpose of this demonstration. And what we're going to do now is walk in and spend about the next 5 minutes actually creating one of these operational plans. And then what we're going to do is monitor it through its cycle. And then we're going to make the changes to it through the PDCA cycle. So you can kind of see all the tools that are involved here. So I'm going to go over to the live system here. At the top here, you'll see the navigation tabs, which are common to every screen. The organization, group, services, goals, objectives, and activities is the pyramid I just showed you flipped on its left side. I'm going to go to my groups tab here, and I'm going to go down and select our community health division. So now what I've done is filtered the pyramid to everything we're going to be talking about is within community health. Now I'm going to look at the services and initiatives for community health here. And you're going to see there's 5 of them. We're going to look at the Safe Kids program. And specifically, we're going to talk about the car seat program within the Safe Kids program. We're going to develop out that plan. So the Safe Kids program is kind of a what we do. Now we're going to get down to the goals. The first goal we're going to talk about is promote and provide child passenger safety education and resources to partners in a community at large. As we go down the pyramid, we're going to get more detailed. So number 1, we're going to set a status flag, and it's just a traffic light. It's exactly what you'd expect. Green is go, everything's good. Yellow is caution, something may be going wrong. Red is, oops, something did go wrong, we're stopped. And then the gold bar that you see indicates successful completion, meaning that is done and over with, basically. The other thing you'll see on every screen is this notes field down here. The notes field is an ongoing dialogue about this particular planning element. And what it is a communication vehicle. Multi-user system, going to have a lot of people looking at this screen potentially. So instead of me making a change and not noting what I did, I'll make a change, I'll put a note in there. So somebody else comes and looks at it and says, oh, I see why Fred changed it from a green to a yellow. I don't have to go call Fred and run him down and figure out what's going on here. For this particular goal then, we're going to have a set of objectives. Objectives are more specific yet. First of all, objectives are what we call SMART. So they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based or time-bound, depending on your particular definition. So as an example, by September 30th, we're going to distribute 20 car seats per week to families through these various programs. Pretty specific. The other thing we do at this point is assign an objective lead. So Diane Cox is the person who's going to get us to 20 car seats a week by the end of September in here. Now, if you look at that objective, it is truly that. It's a target. It's what we're trying to accomplish. It's not how we're going to accomplish it. That's when we get down to the activity level or the operational level there. Now what we have is a set of steps we're going to go through that's going to allow us to accomplish that objective here. And we'll walk through those and look at the data down here at the bottom. So the first one is to establish a funding stream. So we got to have money to buy car seats, obviously. There's a performance metric for every activity that just says, how do we know when we've successfully completed the activity? So in this case, once we've acquired funding, we've completed the activity of establishing a funding stream. There are multiple types of activities. For now, we're going to talk about the most common one, a project-based activity. Project-based activities have a specific team of people. So I can assign those folks in here. I'm going to pick my entire department. So I've assigned a specific team lead. In this case, Diane is also the activity team lead, and a set of team members. Team members can be from anywhere in the organization, and if you choose to, can include external partners as team members. So you can bring those folks in. Over here in the right-hand column, FTE or full-time equivalent is the ability to quantify the human investment in this particular activity. So we have Mara and Diane each saying it's about a 0.1 FTE, which equates to about 4 hours per week for each of them to do that. So the reason we do that is it gives you the ability to roll it up the pyramid. So down here you have a 0.2 FTE, which is a sum of the 0.1 and 0.1, obviously. So for this activity, it's about 1 person day per week. If I go to the objectives, which rolls up all of these activities, you'll see that it's about a 0.6 FTE, which is saying that to accomplish this particular objective is going to take about 3 person days per week. So what that allows you to do is things like cost-benefit analysis. Is this the best use of our limited resources? So it just gives you another data point to work with in there. So the other thing we have at every activity is a time frame. So within this time window, we're going to accomplish this activity. And then a project-based activity is measured very simply just by a % complete. So you think about that, it applies to a lot of different things. Now, there's a couple other types of activities that we'll use in specific cases, like quantitative measurement is used when we're counting quantities, obviously. So instead of a % complete over here, we'll have a quantity field that you can enter, and it can either compare it against a target quantity or just be an open value that just counts up. And then the third type of activity is QA, or quality assurance activity. And the difference there is instead of a beginning date and ending date, you have a beginning date and a frequency. So it's a repetitive activity. So if it's a weekly thing like entering car seats every week, or it's a monthly thing like counting restaurant inspections, you would set up the frequency. And then what happens is every time you enter the updated information, the date range will move forward for you automatically. So it just helps you to do that a little bit. Our next activity then is going to be, now that we have a funding stream, our next activity is to create a relationship with a local car seat installer to be able to actually manage the program for us here. Down at the bottom, we have that ability to assign those external partners. So in this case, we're going to pick Andrea's car seat installation, and specifically, Andrea shown as our contact in here. So what I've done now is assigned Andrea as part of the team, as an external partner, part of the team. If I choose to, I can give Andrea access back into the system so she can actually go in and help us keep the information up to date. And that's up to you. Now, our next activity, since we now have funding and we have somebody to manage the program, the next activity is going to be to get the word out. So the car seat program is applicable to folks who fall under a certain income range, obviously have kids and want to protect their kids in good car seats. So we're going to go to our PIO office and have them get the word out to those specific neighborhoods that fit that financial demographic, so that the people will come see Andrea and she'll qualify them and install their car seats. Then the bottom line activity, if you will, is that we're going to actually install 20 car seats a week. So in the last 5 minutes, what we just did is created a good, solid operational plan for the car seat program. If I take you back to the pyramid, you can see how it fits in there. So it was under Community Health Division. We've picked a specific service. It was the Safe Kids program. The goal here is to provide car seats to those who can't afford them. The objective is by June 30th, or should be September 30th, my apologies. By September 30th, we're going to distribute 20 car seats a week to families for various programs. And then we've got a set of activities that will get us there. We're going to find funding, hire an installation partner, create awareness, and actually install the car seat. So that's the operational plan. Now, let's take this plan and let's walk it through that PDCA cycle so we can see all the tools involved. So we just did the P part, the planning part. We got the plan. Now we're going to put it into motion here. We go to the do phase. What we're going to do is go to our funding source and get money for Andrea to buy car seats. Go to the PIO office to get the word out so that people will go to Andrea and install their car seats. And let's say we're going to run that for 10 or 12 weeks as we ramp up the program. What we're going to do in the background is turn on what we call real-time planning. And what that is a fully automated email notification system and what we call the quick update screen. So what's going to happen, let's say on a weekly basis, maybe on a Monday morning, Andrea will get an email from the system, and it'll say, how many car seats did you install last week? She'll click on the link in the email, takes her into this quick update screen. Quick update screen, she'll put in 21 car seats, hit save, she's done. Grand total of about 1 minute of her time to do that. She's going to do that every week for 10 or 12 weeks. Getting on towards that period, somebody's going to come up to you, and say, hey, how's that car seat program working out? That's where the check phase comes in. So I go back to our activity of installing 20 car seats a week. I go down and click on this little guy here, the chart button, and what's going to show me is exactly how that car seat program is working out. The data points on blue are what Andrea's been entering for us every week. The green one here is the target number of 20 we set. The red one is what we call a fallback number, a kind of a safety zone. It says, if in fact I drop below that number, I need to be notified because something's gone wrong. And the way we do that is every time Andrea enters a value on the blue line, it compares it to the green and the red line and sets a traffic light for you. So if the traffic light is red, I know I'm sitting below the 10. If I'm between the 10 and the 20, it's going to be yellow. If I get up past the 20 line, it's going to be green. So just by looking at the traffic light, I could tell where I am in the chart here. Now, if if I just look at this chart and I say, okay, it took us about 4 weeks to ramp up, and then we are kicking right along at about 20, 21 car seats a week. Exactly what we thought would happen. From the check phase that we just saw, we're going to go into the adjust phase. We're going to talk about 4 different scenarios. The first one is, just like the chart shows, everything's working great, nothing to do here. So we're going to go on back through the cycle, maybe a month from now, whatever you choose. We're going to hit the check phase again, look at the chart. You're still at 20, 21 car seats, everything's great, keep on moving. Now, let's go back and make a little adjustment here. If this were the activity of installing 20 car seats a week, first thing we notice is that it's yellow. So that indicates to us that we're sitting between the red and the green lines. So we'll go verify that. Sure enough, we capped off at about 15 car seats a week. So what we know is we're not making our target number. What we don't know is why. Let's go back and figure that out. What we're going to do is just walk through the activities. So the first one, funding. Well, we have a gold bar there that says we're done. We got that nailed. Number 2, we've got a relationship with a local car seat installer, gold bar. Number 3, PIO office is doing our marketing. Oh, yellow light. Wonder what's going on there. That's where the notes field comes in. I'm going to go down here and say this may not be reaching the proper demographic or the plan is set too high. So either we're not getting to the right target audience who can qualify for the program financially, or we just set the plan too high and we're not making the number here. But what we do know is that our problem is in our marketing effort here. So what we're going to do is grab that chart. We're going to walk over to the PIO office, sit down with them and say, hey guys, here's what we're seeing. Help us understand. So maybe the first answer we get, well, let me tell you what we've been doing. You know, we've gone out to those neighborhoods and put up some posters and flyers in key areas, shopping centers and such, so people would know, you know, that they could get free car seats. We've been using the Nextdoor app, which is a social media for neighborhoods app. Put the advertising out on there so people would know that. There's local newspapers out there, so we've been using the local newspapers to get the word out. We think we're doing a great job of getting the word out. Do you think possibly we all just overestimated the target number? Maybe the target number really is only 15. Maybe that's all the demand out there. So in this case, in the adjust phase, we're going to make an adjustment to the plan. So now instead of waiting until the end of the planning cycle, maybe a year later, and then looking back and saying, how did we do? You can make the adjustments in real time. So now you're working against a live plan as opposed to something that's going to wait till the end of the year here. Now, had we got a different answer from the PIO office, like, yeah, you guys came to us to get this thing kicked off. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of staff turnover. Good news is we just hired a new guy. His name's Bill. Bill's been on board for a couple of weeks, and he's deeply involved in this. He loves doing this kind of stuff. But unfortunately, he just needs more time to get this thing ramped up. So in this case, the adjustment is to the resources. Resources can be lots of different things. It can be money, it can be people, it can be time, facilities, whatever. It can be lots of different things. In this case, it's going to be getting Bill in there and giving Bill some more time to ramp up. And then the fourth scenario, the potential fourth scenario, is kind of a combination of maybe an adjustment to the plan and adjustment to the resources. So in this case, maybe we'll take the plan down to 17 and we'll put Bill in there. We'll get Bill some more time, and maybe we'll bring in an outside contractor to help Bill ramp up to get it up to speed. So those are the typical 4 scenarios in the adjust phase. But every piece of every plan is going through the cycle all the time. You determine the time frame, whether it's monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever you want. You check it. You make sure that everything's on track. You move forward. You make the adjustments. You move forward here. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about performance monitoring. This time at the macro level, we call it, which is the big picture. I'm going to take you back to the dashboard here. I'm going to go to my groups tab again. Now, every person who's assigned as a user in a system is assigned to their home group. You know, if I'm a WIC person, obviously I'm going to be assigned in the WIC group. If I'm an emergency preparedness person, I'm going to be assigned in the FEP group. If I'm a senior leader in the organization, I'm typically going to be assigned at the department level. What that means is when I log in, it's going to take me to my default group. Now, if I'm given permissions by the administrator, I can go in and look at any group, but my default is going to be my home group. So now, looking at my home group, I'm going to go up and click on the little traffic light up here. When I do that, it's going to go out and do a whole bunch of calculations. It's going to come up and show me a dashboard screen specific to my area of responsibility. Well, since we selected the department level, it's going to be my area of responsibility being the entire department. So what I'm going to see is a snapshot. Yes.
I'm sorry. I think the director is trying to log in onto this call, and I want to make sure that she was able to switch over.
Okay, I see her on here, and we'll give her a chance to get on the phone.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. This is Elisa.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. I'm Fred Erickson.
Nice to meet you. I apologize I got on late. I had somebody in my office that ran over.
Welcome to Public Health.
Dr. Householder, this is Ilea. I had them record the meeting for you for the beginning part of the session, but they're not that far into their walkthrough, so I'm going to get off now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay. Yeah, we'll record this and then I'll put it up for you on YouTube so you can go take a look at it when we're done here.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's continue. We just got to the point where we're going to be talking about the dashboard screen itself. This is one of the performance monitoring tools in here. And what it allows you to do is, depending on your area of responsibility, you're going to see a snapshot of the performance of your area of responsibility here. So in this case, looking at the dashboard, I was logging in potentially as a director. So it's going to take me to the department level. So I'm going to see a snapshot of every plan in the entire department here. So in this case, I'm looking at the number of activities in each status: red, yellow, green, and gold. Red being problems, yellow being potential problems, green being everything's great, gold meaning it's been completed in here. The other thing I see up here is a schedule gauge, which is showing me, based on the schedule we set for all of these different activities, how are we doing against the timeline. So in this case, we're about 11 days behind. Now, most schedules are fiscal year long, so 11 days is a pretty small schedule here, increment. It is color-coded, so yellow is less than 60 days behind schedule, red is over 60 days, and green is on schedule here. Now, at the bottom, I can look at some specifics around individual people, around the org chart, around your divisions, your offices, your programs, and around your strategic priorities from your strategic plan. What I'm looking at in this case, I'm looking at my activity lead. I'm looking at the last time they were in there updating their information in the system, and it's color-coded by how long ago it was. So the green is telling me that it's been less than 30 days ago. The yellow is telling me it's been less than 60 days ago, and the red is over 60 days. So just by scanning down here, I can look at each person and say, you know, I need to maybe chat with a few people and find out what's keeping them from keeping their stuff updated there. The FTE column, full-time equivalent, is a roll-up of all the activities that the person has been assigned and what does it take them to as far as their time investment here. So you see, for instance, we have Diane Cox at a 1.25 FTE, meaning she's doing the job of 1.25 people. So ideally, we want to take her down, if we can, to a 1.0 FTE. So I can click on anything on this screen, so I can see all of her activities. I could reassign some of them to maybe to William down here to get her down and bring him back up. Lagging and days here is showing me the number of activities behind schedule, and the days is showing me aggregately for all the activities that I'm assigned, how am I doing against my schedule? And it is color-coded again by how far. Overdue is just that. The ending date has come and gone, and we're not yet complete. And then we have the number of red, yellow, green, and gold activities for each person. Like I said, I can look at the people. I can look at the groups, meaning my org chart. So how is each division, office, and program performing? And then I can look at my strategic priorities. So how are all the other plans in the department supporting our strategic plan moving forward? In the top right corner, I can pick individual items I want to keep my eye on. So they're not calculated, they're just things I pick. Everybody's screen is different because they're attached right to your user ID. And typically they're things that are in red and yellow status, because if they're in green and gold, they're already taken care of. You don't need to worry about it. So that's the dashboard screen. We do recommend that especially managers and supervisors use the Start Here button, which says, make this my home page when I log in. So every morning they can go in and make a look at their area of responsibility, get a snapshot to see how it's performing. If there's an issue, they can drill down on it right there, make the corrections, and move on. If there's no issues, they can log out and move on. Document management. Now, where do you guys stand on FAB accreditation?
We're actually really in the early phases. I came on board here about 3 years ago, and we weren't ready at that point. So we had to do quite a bit of work, like have a formal strategic plan. We're actually reorganizing currently and starting our QI work. So I would not anticipate that we would seek accreditation probably for another 2 years.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm going to show you some tools in there that you're going to love then, because it's designed to help you to get through the accreditation process with the least possible effort here. One of those,
Okay.
by the way, is this document management thing. As you're going through the process, you're going to end up, by time you decide to submit up into EFAB, you're going to submit somewhere between 300 and 1,000 documents. Now, imagine the process of keeping track of all those documents before you submit them. Which documents relate to which measures, how old are the documents? You got to know that they're within the expiration standard that FAB sets and that sort of thing. That's why we designed the document management right in. It attaches documents to plans or pieces of plans. And then you have the ability to put a big description of the document in there, which is a lot more than just, the file name will give you. It allows you to put notes about it. It allows you to set the status of the document so you know whether it's a brand new document or it's already been submitted up in EFAB by the traffic flag. And then this is an important one, this date down here. FAB has what they call an expiration date for every document. So when you get down to the point where you're submitting your chip, it's got to be less than 5 years old. So you kind of got to know when it expires. Your workforce development plan has got to be less than 2 years old. So same thing. So it allows you to have a lot more data around the documents that you're going to submit, and a great place to keep them. They're in a secure server environment. They're all backed up every night and everything else. So it's really a nice tool. In addition to accreditation, though, a lot of people use this for things like policy management. We just went through with the state of Georgia this morning and actually built out a plan for them to manage their ongoing policies. They have bunches and bunches of policies. But what it allows you to do is take the policy document, attach it to an activity that says, we're going to update this document every fiscal year. When the fiscal year comes around, the system notifies you that, hey, you need to update this. So the document's right there. You download it, you make the changes, you upload the new version, and you're done. The other thing is grant management. So as you're applying for grants, you're going to submit a lot of documentation. As you're managing grants, you're going to have to submit documentation, showing proof of use and that sort of thing. So it's great to have all those documents where they need to be here. So that's all included. There's no limits on what you can put in there, how many, how big, or anything else. Three-dimensional planning. Once you end up getting what FAB calls their six-pack of plans in there, which are the minimum required for the accreditation process that you see up there, you're going to want to be able to kind of look across all those plans for commonalities, for gaps, for overlaps, that sort of thing. And that's what three-dimensional planning does. So as an example, there's tags in there that you can set for the essentials of public health and accreditation. Or as you get down into the accreditation process itself, you can say which of these plans are supporting FAB Standard 6.1. Which pieces of which plans are supporting our strategic priority from our strategic plan around partnering. And then which documents support each of those things. So in this case, which documents are we going to submit for FAB Standard 4.2 when it comes down to that time? So it's just an overlay across everything else in the system, but it allows you to glean a lot of information. And there's a bunch of different categories and subcategories you can assign, and you can create your own if you want to. The intelligent real-time planning is the background. This is what's going on all the time to collect information and keep information up to date. So instead of having to wait until the end of a planning cycle and looking back to see how you did against a plan, we're going to keep track of that in real time by distributing the workload out of updating the plan activities to the people who are just ready to go. So in this case, what we have is each person who's assigned as a user in the system, who's assigned as an activity leader or an objective leader, is going to be looked at by the system on a time frame that you select. Very typically, it's once a month. Let's say it's set for the first Wednesday of the month. What's going to happen is every user in the system is going to be evaluated for three criteria. Number one, have you been in there in the last 30 days and updated your stuff? Number two, do you have anything that's behind schedule right now? Number three, do you have anything that's overdue right now? Any of those is true, an email goes out automatically. And by the way, this is completely automated, so it's in the background. You don't even see it happening. The only people that see it happening are people who get the emails. What's going to happen is it's going to send emails out to internal folks as well as selected external partners. In that email is a link they'll click on. Takes them into this thing we call Quick Update. Quick Update is a super simple screen. It's only got 3 fields to change. You can click through the traffic light sequence. You can put in a data value, and you can put in a note. Then you hit save. It takes you to the next activity, the next one. Typically, this takes about 3 to 5 minutes per person per month. A lot of times there's things that don't even need to be updated. You're just going to cycle through them. Sometimes you put in 1 or 2 updates and you go on through it, but literally about 3 to 5 minutes per person per month. So when you start asking people to help you to keep information up to date, it's a lot easier to get them to do it if they prove to themselves it's 3 to 5 minutes versus if they took a half an hour to do it last time. You're not going to get much help. And that's exactly what happened when we rolled this feature out years ago. Reporting, every kind of report in the system. Most of the reports are just like the plans in the system. They're operational plans. So we've been talking about the car seat program. I don't know how much of that you heard, but in the car seat program, the operational plan report looks like this. The car seat program falls under Community Health Division, falls under the Safe Kids program. This is showing that there's actually a document attached to the Safe Kids program right there, the green one. Then you got the goals, got the objectives, and got the specific activities. You see the notes in there that are in green. They're kind of that communication vehicle. Got the people who are attached to each of the activities and the objectives, the status of everything. So it's a very comprehensive report that is also very flexible. I can say, I just want to see last month's activities, or I just want to see down to the goal level here. I don't care about objectives and activities at this point. So lots of different reports, easy to do, just takes seconds to create them. The other thing you can do is what we call VMSG Public, which is sharing your good work with the public. You create performance web pages around any performance indicator in the system that you put in there. It can be your divisions, offices, programs. It can be specific activities. And what you end up with is, I'll show you the one for the car seat program again. What you end up with is just a public web page, and it's got indicator rows, and you have as many rows on a page as you want. And when I come over here, you roll over, you see the number of activities in each of the traffic light statuses here, plus the schedule gauge. And if you go down to the activity level, you can see the number of car seats we installed each week, that sort of thing. Creates this unique web address that you can put in an email and send out, put it up on your public web page, put it on social media, and it just takes minutes to create each of these web pages. So it just allows you to be transparent, as Fab says. This is the thing that I think might be of most interest to you. Built into the system is a complete accreditation and reaccreditation operational plan. What it allows you to do is set up the people who are going to be responsible for each of the domains, set up the dates, when you're planning 2 years from now, when you're planning on submitting documents. Then everything becomes part of that real-time planning process. It automatically notifies people that, hey, you need to get these documents together to be ready for, completing measure 1.1.1 or whatever it happens to be in here. Let me kind of walk you through that plan a little bit here. It's a group within itself. So the cool thing about groups is that they each have their own dashboard. So at the group level, I can click on the traffic light, and it's going to show me a dashboard of how are we doing against accreditation. And it'll show you every person who's involved, every group that's involved, the whole 9 yards. When I start drilling down through the plan here, you'll see that I have the 12 domains. I go down to the domains here for accreditation. Underneath that, you're going to obviously have the standards and the reaccreditation measures for those folks who are going through reaccreditation. The objectives are the measures. So I've got the 3 measures to get to that standard. And then the really nice part are the specific activities for each measure. So what this is telling me is that if I accomplish these 3 activities, I'm going to meet that objective, which is the measure here, which is what Fab is looking for. Every activity, pretty much every activity requires either a narrative or some set of documents here. So for instance, the health department must document that the process for development of the CHA includes participation of outside partners. So you're going to have documents around meeting notes and things along that line. This is the document management button right here. Click on that. It's going to say, okay, we've got these 3 documents attached, whatever they are, that are supporting that. And then these are going to be the documents that you're going to submit up into EFAB. So they're right there attached to that measure. Again, like I say, if you get ready to use the plan and then you tell us who are your users who are going to be the domain leads, we can push those all the way down to the activity level. So they become assigned to those activities. And then we can also do the same thing with your dates. So, whatever your submission date is 2 years out, we can assign those dates. And then people are going to get those monthly emails that show that, here's the things you need to update. So you can actually start working through the process now with a nice guidance of this good, solid operational plan. By the way, everything in this plan comes from FAB. We didn't create any of it. We just took and structured it all into a good, solid plan based on all the information FAB provides. So again, that's all built in. It's a great tool to use as where you are in the accreditation process right now. The other thing you can do is, as you're getting down towards time for the fab site visit, after all your documents are submitted, a lot of people will hire one of the fab site visitors, and there's about 500 of those around the nation. You're going to hire one of those folks to come in and actually go through a mock site visit for you. If you do it the regular way, you're going to pay somebody's airfare, you're going to pay their hotel bills, you're going to pay their meals, you're going to pay their hourly rate to come in and go through all of your documents and plans. What we've done by using the operational plan, you can actually do a virtual mock site visit. What that allows you to do is we can bring somebody in from anywhere into the system. They can go in and they can grade all of your plans, all your documents, and then they'll come back. The system has a report as soon as they get done doing that, a report that you look at that says, here's everything we need to focus on between now and the actual fab site visit. So it makes it much more efficient, much more cost effective for you to do the virtual site visits. Quick start. We don't want you to buy our system and then go into shell shock and figure out, how am I going to get this thing up and running? So we're going to get you up and running. And here's how we do it. First thing we're going to do is set up the system itself to give you a personalized dashboard. So we're going to ask you to send us your org chart and your user list and your logos, that sort of thing. We're going to build out your dashboard. It takes about a day. Once we get to that point, we're going to then send you an email that says, here's how you get your login credentials, here's how you log in. And by the way, here's a link to all of the online training that's built in. So the first phase of training is going through a bunch of online video training modules. They're very, very detailed, but they're very dry. So don't do them at 2 in the afternoon after a big lunch. You won't make it. So you're going to do that. While you're doing that, we're going to say, send us one of your plans. If you got your strategic plan done by then, that's great. If you got part of it done, that's great. Or any other plan that you have. We'll structure it into the pyramid so that you can see the plan in there. We'll put part of the data in there all the way down to that activity level. So that way we can go back and work with you to do the live training and actually use your plan to do the live training. We're going to help you to assign the folks to those pieces of the plans, the objective and activity leads. We're going to set up the real-time update notifications, about a 2-minute process. And then we start into a series of live training sessions. The live training sessions, we typically start with your administrators, the folks who are kind of going to be the experts and somewhat to train the trainers as well. We'll get them up to speed first. The next set of trainings is usually the planners, so typically supervisors and managers who are actually designing and building plans. Maybe your strategic planning team would be in there. And then the third level of training we call occasional user training. And that's for those folks who are just responding to those emails. They respond to the email, they go into the quick update screen, and they're done, after 3 minutes or 5 minutes each month. But we do want to get everybody trained and have them understand the basics of the system so that they understand what their participation is doing towards the betterment of the whole department here. All of this is done, we have an annual license fee that is all included in here, and all the training and all the support, everything is included. So there's no additional cost for anything that we do in here. I mentioned that training is all built in, so is real-time help. So no matter where you are in the system, help is always one click away. So right now I'm on the services screen. If I click on the little blue eye, it takes me to the help and information screen, and it takes me immediately to adding and managing services, right where I came from. First thing I have is a list of every icon on that screen and every field and everything, what to do with it. Down here is a link to a 3 to 4 minute long training module. The training module walks me through everything I need to know for that. Every one of these has a training module, and the training modules are rolled up into these 4 training curriculums you see up here in the top left. That's what we recommend, depending on your function in the system, as you go through some of that online training to start with here. This is all available 24/7. It's all built in. And like I say, it's always one click away here. Quickly, very cost effective. I'll show you the price model here in a second. The dashboard itself is a great tool for, especially for managers and supervisors, to be able to keep track of the exact performance of their portion of the department here. 3-dimensional planning that we showed you is the ability to look across for gaps, overlaps, commonalities, and such. The accreditation process is just built in, so it gives you the ability to use it. We also provide you with the narrative for Standard 9.1, which is the implementation of a performance management system. So by implementing the system, we have a narrative that it already describes your use of the VMSG dashboard as your performance management system. So it does save you one of developing one of those. And the entire system is cloud-based. There are no installations required on your part. All the updates are done on the server. They're automatically available when you log in the next time. You just need a web browser on your end, and we do all the support and services and everything else on the back end here. So I think that is your drink out of a fire hose, or half of the drink out of a fire hose for you, maybe. What else
maybe
can I say?
Maybe half of a drink. I think really I just have some broader questions. Who
Sure.
In public health, either at the county, local level, or state level, is already using this particular dashboard?
Well, there are 222 health departments across the nation using it right now. I'd be happy to send you a list of referrals that you can call and talk to and get any information you want. Would you like that?
Well, actually, what I'm trying to look at are like municipalities that would be similar. So we're a county health department, but we're an independent health department.
Uh-huh.
Knox is a new client of ours, just so that you're aware.
Knox County here. So that's helpful. Yeah. Okay. And then you said you were going to mention cost, but I didn't hear cost. So what is the cost of startup and then like annual maintenance?
Okay, let me bring that up. Hang 1 second, please. I wasn't prepared. I apologize.
That's okay.
And everything seems to be slow on Friday. I think my computer's telling me I'm done for the weekend. Uh-oh. I'll put you on hold for 1 second, please.
Okay.
My apologies. Here it is. Let me drag it over here. Okay. Our pricing model is based on the number of users. Typically, it's basically the FTEs in your department, but not necessarily everybody's going to be a user on the system. And then there's going to be some external users on there. So what would you say? How big is the department? Give me some rough number here to.
Well, we have 550 employees, but I would not expect them all to be on there. Okay. Clearly, people who are administrators, managers, project leaders, or work group leaders would be on there. I wouldn't, maybe not even half.
So 200 people maybe?
Yeah.
So let me show you the price model here. So at 200 people, it would be $72.50 a year. And like I said, that's the only fee. There's no startup fees. There's no training fees, nothing else. It's all just one annual license fee. So let me show you how it's set up here. So if I go 0 to 50, it's $100 per user per year. And that, again, that includes everything. If I go to 51, come on. I don't know why things are slow today. 51, you see it goes up by $20. If I go to 125, and then it's $20 per user per year up to 125. And then I go to 126, and it only goes up by $10. So once you get past 125, it drops down to $10 per user per year. So that's the pricing model. So if I go to, again, to say 250, it's going to be $77.50. And like I say, if you go up and down a little bit, it's only $10 a user per year at that level.
So my other question, kind of moving beyond price. So for example, if we have other systems, not performance management systems, but we'll be launching what used to be called Healthy Communities Network. It's now owned by Xerox, so it's Conduent. But that's the outward-facing dashboard that's more at a population level, where what you're showing here is more, what could be outward-facing would be more service delivery.
Uh-huh.
So my question really has to do not so much with interoperability, but let's just say we have the Healthy Communities Network page. Could we do a link that goes into more of the performance metrics that would be public facing? Well, I'm trying to avoid someone having to go through two different web pages.
Right. We have I don't know if you were on when we went through the VMSG public part. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, let me show you that.
Well, you showed me a part that would be public. I heard that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the VMSG public. It's creating a public-facing web page from within the system. And then you just go and update that web page, and the people who link onto your website will see the updated page every time they see it in there.
Yeah, I guess that's not my question. So
okay.
We'll have a web page that's designed to really show, it really links more to our community health needs assessment. So here's our priorities based on our community health needs assessment, and here's where we are in changing things at a population level. So that's just imagine we already have that as the front page. Can we embed a link or button to be able to drive to your page?
Yes, very easily.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, when I go back to here, no, I'm sorry, let me get back to where I was here. Hello. Okay. Yeah, so this would be the web page here, and this is the link up here. You just grab that link and put the button to go to that link in there. Just do a link, an anchor, they call it in HTML. Do an anchor to that link in there on your button, and it'll take people right to this page. All this text over here can be customized as you're building the page, so you can make it look however you want to, and you can have as much of this on a page as you want.
Okay, that's helpful. So let me tell you from our end, some potential next steps. So we have finished strategic planning. We are going through a reorganization or a restructuring that will allow us to better align the projects and project starters with strategy. However, that's not historically how our team has done that. So I would say, as I look at the tool, it would be very beneficial to me. I think our readiness for it's probably another 6 months to a year, just in part because people are not used to doing project charters and having the deliverables at the granular level that you have listed. In some programs, there's clearly performance metrics they're meeting for the grantor, but it's not common practice across. So I think we need to do a little bit more work. But also, just so you know, from our end, typically if I explore something like this, the next step would be to show it to our executive team.
Okay.
And so to me, that might be a viable next step, but probably I'll talk to Aliyah. I'll probably say it probably wouldn't be till September.
Okay.
And that's because we'll have gone through the restructuring by then and realignment of our projects and done some project charter work. So I think it'll make more sense for people in managing either program deliverables or project deliverables. And then I probably would like, I don't know who the point person is at Knox County. I actually have an upcoming call with Knox County about some other programmatic stuff. So if you have a contact person in Knox County, I can ask them about their use of the tool.
Do you know Jennifer Valentine?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, do you know Jennifer Valentine?
I know the name, yes.
Okay, she's the one that we've been working with, but yeah.
And they are still in the implementation stage as well.
Yeah, and they're already accredited, so they're a little bit further along on some of their performance management than we are as a system. But I still be curious to just see how it's going for them.
You bet. And we can also give you, you know, a list of our other clients that are around the U.S. That are in various processes of accreditation, and especially the ones that they might have had the system, but they're in the beginning of accreditation, and possible ideas of how they're implementing everything.
Yeah, that would be helpful for me.
Yeah, it's and you know, with that, it's I think the biggest thing with starting out on accreditation or starting out on a system is being able to be empathetic to the people that are starting a new system, you know, that are actually doing those activities. And as Fred probably mentioned, throughout implementation, when and if you decide to choose us in September, October, or whatever, we really stress progress over perfection, and it reduces the anxiety tenfold, to have them be able to say, okay, this is how you're benefiting the rest of the organization, and we take everyone down to the last person installing a car seat through a timeline of the dashboard. Like, we give them a shorter view of this, and if we don't, they sit down and they feel like they're putting together that 1,000-piece puzzle without the box. So we show them the box first, and that seems to really help with the anxiety level.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, I know for our team, adding additional technology is a little bit of, can be anxiety provoking.
Yeah, and you know what, as well as when you don't have it, it's also anxiety provoking as well. So it's like, okay, you know, how am I going to collect all this data? How am I going to decipher the reports? How am I, you know, and with that, hopefully you've seen where we've given you a great solution, or at least one option. And I think that Ellen is already probably getting you an email out at or some point in time, maybe by Monday, and just giving you some references and Jennifer's number, and see if she minds. You know, that they're right in the middle of it, I believe. I think we have a couple more trainings, and then you, Ellen, you're going to give her a copy of the pricing?
Yes, I absolutely will. And I'll need to check with Jennifer, just out of courtesy, before I send over her information, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And Doctor, please forgive me. I would love to say that what happened is I jumped in. I am caregiving my mother who fractured her back, so I had to run downstairs for a minute, and I came back and I was like, oh no, I missed it. I just wanted to let you know that with that said, you know, as far as implementation, if Ellen and Fred had talked to you about just giving you a what if, so it doesn't look like, you know, we want to give you a quote for all of your FTEs, but, you know, give you a tiered pricing of 100, 200, or the first 50, then 6 months down the road, 100. That might, you know, benefit you as far as budgeting.
It is helpful, I think, for me, just for the purposes of today's conversation. A ballpark helps me know if that's something that could be done in this fiscal year or would have to wait till next fiscal year. There's a big difference between 7,500 and 75,000, and so you know, that's really what I needed initially. But the tiered pricing will help me as well.
Yeah, because to do because we reduce the amount per user after 50, it's able to be feasible, financially feasible for the larger departments like yourself. So I'll give you a tiered pricing as well.
Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't?
Oh, I don't. Well, let me tell you something. It's funny you should say that, because we prefer that you ask, in other words, down the road, you'll think of, oh gosh, didn't I see a document management system in there? Okay, and then if you need to present this, you've got the recording, but if you also need presenting this to team leads, management, leadership, we would be more than happy to do another presentation or even a Reader Digest version of this one. But I don't think that anybody has been able to absorb what the system can do all in one meeting. There's just so many little facets to it, and it's pretty robust. So with that, we'll be more than happy to do, or answer questions at any time. Just give us a call or email Ellen or Fred or myself, and we'll get her done.
I appreciate it.
Okie doke. Well, I hope you have some great plans for the weekend. And if you don't have any other questions, then like I said, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, and I apologize for the mix-ups on my schedule the other day. I was at County Commission, and then being a little bit late today. But the next step for me is to work with Aaliyah to try to get you guys scheduled for, I think this presentation as you did it was sufficient for our executive team so that they can see it. And September to me would be the appropriate time.
Okay, great. Awesome blossom. I love it. Hey, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.